Welcome to this SCORE webinar. This is the first in a series on ownership design provided through SCORE Mentors Green Bay. To talk about your journey at Northern Lakes and your decision as the owner or family owner to transition to employee owned. So over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to be kind of a broken record and say some of the same things. It's obvious that the three of our companies have a lot of things in common as far as a commitment to employees and a commitment to our customers. I think that's kind of a through line. I'm going to go a little more nuts and bolts because we're really kind of brand new to this. When I was asked to do this, I said a whole bunch of things that I thought were going to get me out of being involved in this just because we were so inexperienced. And I was told that's exactly what we're looking for. So you're going to hear a new person's journey into this realm. Northern Lake Service. I'm Archie Krueger. I'm the president of Northern Lake Service. We are an environmental compliance lab located up in Crandon, Wisconsin. We have 35 employees up there, and then we have 3 employees in a small satellite down in Waukesha. We do compliance testing. We do drinking water, wastewater, groundwater testing for municipalities, industries, tribal customers, private residents across Wisconsin. We mostly work for entities that have to comply with state and federal regulations. And most of our work is certified through the state, but we do participate in some specialized projects across the country. Even though we're way up in the sticks and we're a small company, we're the primary laboratory for many of the state's largest municipalities. And there are a number of tests that we perform up there that are not available from any other lab in the state of Wisconsin. So we really kind of take pride in being on the cutting edge and still be able to live up in amongst the lakes and the trees. We're the only private laboratory currently that does PFAS testing, which some of you have probably heard of. It's made a lot of news in the last couple of years. The company was established by my dad back in 1974, and about 20 years ago, my folks started gifting shares of the company to myself and my 2 siblings. And the 3 of us have been the sole owners for about the past 5 years. My brother and sister both serve on our board and assist with things, but they're not active day to day. I'm the only one that's active on a daily basis. We talked about ownership transition for a lot of years, but nothing really kind of took hold. We knew that we could sell to one of the large laboratory networks, national networks, foreign-owned networks, but we just did not want to do that. We have a good reputation. We wanted to continue to serve our customers. And through this process, my dad would rail about the conditions that we'd need to have from a new owner. They'd have to stay where we're located. They'd have to meet this and have to meet that. And my brother finally said, you know, Dad, the only people that are going to meet these conditions are our owners. Those are the only people that we know would be committed to that kind of a process. At that time, we had kind of an old buy-sell agreement that didn't do much other than basically just cover the event of my parents' deaths. And we took a couple of years to find a really good team, to find a really good attorney. We didn't have much legal need prior to that. We found a good attorney. We had some good business consultation. We worked through the process of figuring out what we wanted to do. The first thing we did, we redrafted that buy-sell agreement with employee ownership in mind. We did a big stock split. At that point, the shares were worth about $800, and we did a 10-to-1 split just because it's way easier to manage shares that are worth $100 than shares that are worth $1,000. You don't have to deal in partials and things like that. And we established voting and non-voting shares at that point, again, so that we can have a little bit of control, and so that there's a little bit more of a carrot out there. When people have bought so many non-voting shares, they're entitled to voting shares, and we can work with some of those kind of conditions. My brother had bought into the company that he worked for, which was a manufacturing company, and they had a couple people who mortgaged themselves to the hilt in order to buy out a brother, and they wanted him out of there ASAP. They knew exactly who they wanted to buy in, and they did that. And our situation was very, very different, where we didn't have obvious targets of an owner management group. And we also don't have, we've got a far more flexible timeline. We wanted something that everybody was comfortable being involved in or choosing to not be involved in. And we decided that any regular employee with over 2 years of employment was eligible for ownership. We recently, this has only been in place for a couple of years, but we recently changed that to 1 year. And I think this is an important thing to remember, that the buy-sell agreement seems like this formidable document, but it is, you can make changes, and it's important to put something in place that makes perfect sense, with that understanding that things can change, and make sure the employees know that it's not changed willy-nilly. It's changed through, formalized processes, but letting the employees know that, just having transparency and having their understanding is key. One of the things that we've done real recently is we've started, as we have new ideas in how we're doing this, we have some of the most skeptical employees actually review our concepts. And what that does is it helps us with the rollout, it helps us with the thought process, but it also makes those who might be most skeptical feel empowered, feel like a part of the group, and it really does a lot to help transparency. So we started 2 years ago, we started having the corporation buy shares from my brother and sister and I, in order to take the capital gain ramifications away from that, and create some treasury shares that we could start to make available to our employees. We normally have a small summer bonus every year, and last year we allowed employees to either take that bonus in cash or take it in shares, just to get the ball rolling. You didn't have to put anything in, but they got some value. And we found, as we assumed, we got three kinds of employees: those who are super excited about this and want to aggressively pursue it, and are looking at some management opportunities down the road; those who think it's neat to buy in and have a few shares; and those who have zero interest, who want to show up and work. And we've made it, we've created the understanding that being any of those three is really good, is just fine. We also have people that are at totally different stages in their lives, and to try to make these kind of decisions on where they're going to put their dollars. We've been really surprised by some of our younger staff who've made a real commitment to this, who really feel empowered by it, and have done some real financial management to make sure they're doing the right thing. And I honestly think that it's made a lot of our employees look more closely at their long-term financial planning, whether it be putting their dollars into this or doing something different, but it does give them a reason to look into that. So earlier in this year, we opened up our first purchase period, and we only sold about 5% of the shares. And there was some disappointment at the time. I really wasn't, but a couple other people were. But I think people were just, they weren't sure. They needed others to test the waters. And recently we gave people an option at annual review time to take an increase in shares, or to take it as a regular increase. And we had significantly more interest in that. We also opened a brief purchase period again, and we had quite a bit of buy-in. It's important to understand, if you do these things in lieu of a raise, that you have to gross that up to cover some of the tax implications. We made an agreement with the employees that next year, when we look at their salary or wage, that we would consider the value of those shares as their new wage. So you got to be looking at things like that, again, to make the employees trust that you're doing something that is in their best interest, that you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes on something like this. Our goal is transition. That's what we want to have happen. I want the people that built our business to be the people that keep the business going. We want to get a fair return for something that my dad grew from absolutely nothing, that we've turned into a really successful business. But we don't feel like we need to squeeze every last dollar out of this. And if that's the goal, then probably this is not going to be the way to pursue that. But if you want that continuity in the business and the culture and all those things that the previous presenters talked about, I think there's some really neat ways to do this to get employee buy-in and again, that continuity. I think some of the key things are having a really good team. We've got a really strong business manager internally and a good attorney that we really trust that understands what our goal is. And we are, documenting the heck out of things, trying to keep it as simple as possible, yet document every little step. And again, be as transparent as you possibly can be with your employees moving forward. You got to set some of this stuff up maybe without having a lot of their input, but once things are in place, involve them as much as they're interested in being involved, and let them know their importance to the entire process. So that's our journey.